So it's time to take a look at the Incursus Navy. This is Galanta's second Navy frigate. The first one is the Tristan. At the moment, the Tristan Navy is, I would say, the most popular Navy frigate because it uses drones and it is very lethal with the bombarding plants. Now the Incursus is utilizing railguns and it has a very nice bonus on armor repair. It's basically very similar to the Rifter in stats, but it is a Galanta ship, and for a Galanta ship it does look very good. Usually Galanta ships are kinda ugly, but the Incursus is very cute, and we will see if they do buff these ships in the future even more. Okay, let's take a look at the ship trait description. Now, the roll bonus plus 20% small railgun activation time, minus 20% damage control reactivation delay, plus 6 seconds damage control activation time, and minus 20% warp drive singular radius penalty. Expert small railgun operation bonus will give plus 35% small railgun damage, plus 10% small railgun accuracy fall-off, plus 75% small railgun tracking speed. Expert frigate command bonus per level will give you plus 7.5% armor repair. It does affect all armor repairs, small, medium, and technically large, but I don't think that you can slap a large armor repair on a Incursus Navy. And you get the same scan resolution and center strength bonus as with the other Navy frigates, which is plus 5% on both for the expert electronic warfare bonus. Overall, solid stats, and does look really good on paper. Now, Navy frigates have been buffed already. They have received a bit more DPS, a bit more power grid, and most importantly, they all have received a 4th low slot. The Incursus has also received the same little buffs, and this is primarily a armor tank, so don't shield tank your Incursus Navy. Preferably it should be an active tank like the Rifter, although with the new armor plates you can technically create a passive tank easily, which I'll be playing around with when the plates are actually on the market, since right now everyone is busy killing each other in the wormholes, so kind of no one does PvE. That's why the modules aren't really available in the market right now. The other stats are really good. The Incursus has a very good capacitor. I mean, it is to be expected to have a good capacitor. Galanta and armor ships are known for their capacitor, for their armors, so this little ship has some very nice capacitors attached to it. So let's take a look at the build. Now, I have 381.92 DPS. This is with a kind of a tank build, although the rigs are also focused on DPS in a very similar way. It's built in a very similar way to the Rifter that I showed you a couple days ago. Now, as for the medium slots, Scrummer, Web, Nosferatu, a medium armor repair, a damage control, adaptive armor hardener, and an afterburner. Overall, this would be a tank, active tank build. Now, as for the rigs, dual burst aerators and one anti-explosive pump, dual auxiliary power rotors, and one auxiliary thruster. This is basically very similar to how I built the Rifter Navy. Now, as for the nanocore, you have the one purple currently available, but my advice will be to wait for the other normal nanocores to be available for the ship, since they will be available at one point. I don't know why they didn't include that in the last patch. Maybe they're working on it, I don't know, but the classic Incursus nanocores will be available for these ships, for all Navy ships basically. So I would say if you're not in a rush, then wait for the other nanocores that will be available from the market. Now here we can take a look at the armor resistance, almost 2000 armor hit points, which is not bad. The stats, the tank is looking really solid for a small frigate. And let me undock to show you the active stats that you can get on the Incursus. So far I was very surprised by the tank of these ships. They are really tanky. They do feel more like the Navy versions of frigates now than they used to be before they added that extra 4th slot. The extra 4th low slot is really important. One of the best changes that they've ever done to any ship in the game, if you ask me. So, let me turn on all the modules. The DPS is okay. If you have C-types, the DPS will be even higher, and if you have maximum skills, it will be even better. So this is definitely not with the optimal skills for this ship. 1.5 km per second is the afterburner speed, which is definitely slower than some of the previous frigates, but not too bad. 11,436 is the overall defense, 77, 70, 69 and 75% resistance on the armor. Pretty solid for a frigate. Should be quite tanky. Repairs 526 every 5.45 seconds. With a implant you can improve that, and with a different build you can even improve the armor repair on this. So it has a very good armor repair. Impressive armor repair actually. And with the... I have a thermal circulation implant for armor resistance. You can pick the optimal range bonus on the implant if you like, but I like to have tank, and I usually go with tank, especially on an armor tank. Will be very important. So it's very important. But you can again pick if you like. If you want more range, you can easily decide to get more range. The thermal circulation implants will give you some good DPS while active, but you have to be careful not to overheat the implant. If you overheat the implant, all that good DPS goes bye-bye, and you're basically stuck with a cooldown that can last for up to 60 seconds, and that's a lot of time. Literally, the difference between life and death is if you accidentally mess up the deactivation of the implant. 504 DPS when the thermal circulation implant kicks in, which honestly is not that bad. With a DPS build you can definitely get that DPS very, very high, since you know blasters have the highest DPS but shortest range in the game. Now you can use a kite build on this ship easily. It has a micro warp drive signature reduction bonus, so the signature is not going to be that big, and these frigates can do both roles in kite and brawl. It really depends on what kind of frigate you like to fly in, or it depends on the build that you have on your ship. Now, for a kite build, I always like to use a tracking disruptor or a guidance disruptor. Even a sensor dampener is also quite a useful thing to have. In the low slots, obviously a micro warp drive. Let me just find it. Micro warp drive is basically very crucial for kiting. If you do engage a frigate with short range weapons, they will not be able to hit you. Now the Navy frigates, besides having some good tank, they're also known to be quite speedy. You can easily kite most of the close range frigates that you have. Now for a kite build, a active tank isn't really necessary. You can use a armor plate. Now this kind of build would be really good with the new plate, since the new plate has a smaller mass and it doesn't slow down your ship. The classic armor plates do slow down your ship, and they aren't really, I would say, they're good. They give good armor hit point, but they are going to slow down your ship, which may impact the kiting ability against some ships. So for a kite build, if you go with a passive tank, then definitely go with the new armor plates. I think they call it armor pump or something like that. So the new plates that have been added in the last patch are definitely the way to go for a armor passive tank kite Navy frigate, for the Punisher and for the Incursus, and also can be used on the Tristan Navy as well. So honestly, these I feel like these ships are meant to be used with the new plates. However, the shield tank frigates might not be able to fit them, since the medium shield booster, the medium shield pump or whatever they call it, is using a lot of power. The armor actually doesn't use a lot of power, so that's very interesting. That's very interesting. And of course, I think they also use a lot less capacitor, which is also very important. But for a emergency use, definitely
docking request accepted.
Very good purpose. And that was some very good tank actually. A lot of armor and some decent tank. Of course, the speed will be impacted since the armor plates do slow down your ship. So instead of the one web, you can easily fit one scrambler. You can fit any other module that you think will work the best. I have a web as a defense, although I think a scrambler might be the better defense, since usually ships that do get close to you usually have a micro warp drive. Since this thing is already quite speedy, you definitely want to have some protection against speedy ships, and if you can turn off their micro warp drive, then they lose speed, and then they are even a easier target. Now here I did encounter some small power grid problems, although that's probably due to my skills. I don't have the best skills for frigates, but working on that, more of the... I will get more power grid, and a lot of other modules will be able to be placed in the ship once I do skill up some things. Now, for a kite build, you can also use something like this with a medium neutralizer. I did something very similar with the Punisher Navy.
Undocking.
And I do like to... I actually am kind of impressed how well a medium neutralizer worked on these frigates. Now, the reason why it works so well is the fact that they have a lot of capacitor to spare, and you will be killing the capacitor of a frigate in about 3 cycles, and you can actually kill the capacitor of destroyers and kill the capacitor of cruisers. Now, it has some good tank, but in this case the capacitor would definitely be a problem. So if you do plan to use a medium neutralizer on any of these ships, I recommend that you slap a capacitor battery on them as well. 4,499 hit points, 94, 93, 92, and 94% armor resistance. So it is tanky, and if you're in a fleet where you have a lot of group capacitor boosters, this would definitely work really well, since in that case you don't really have to worry about your capacitor, since it will be recharged by your teammates. Now, if you don't have a fleet, then you have to rely on your own ship to maintain its own capacitor, and in order to do that, you can add one capacitor battery, which I'll be showing you in a moment here. Now, for some reason I went back with a kite build. This is a kite build with dual points and a tracking disruptor, as well as a armor plate. So that's also one of the ways how you can fly the ship with dual points if your target is stabbed. Or you can even use a scrammer instead of the long range disruptor. Also works really well. I also thought about a dual propulsion build. This works really well if you get scrambled, if your micro overdrive gets turned off, you have an afterburner so you can take range. And with this build, you definitely want to have a scrammer on your ship so that you can turn off the micro overdrive of your target. So that's also one of the ideas that I wanted to show you. And this is the build with the medium neutralizer. Has a dual propulsion setup, has a capacitor battery, and has a medium neutralizer. Overall, also a kite build that can counter ships with a micro overdrive if you have a scramble. Actually, for this kind of build, I kind of wish that the ship had a 4th medium slot, since kind of missing a scrambler, but it should also work real well the way it is right now, since you can turn off the micro overdrive of your target by using the neutralizer. Since you know the micro overdrive does eat a lot of the capacitor, it does reduce 25% when fitted, and it does consume a lot when being used. So killing the capacitor of your target if they're using a micro overdrive isn't going to be a big problem. And since you have a capacitor battery, you can use the capacitor battery's capacitor to basically run the neutralizer on that, and then after that ends, you can also keep on using neutralizer if you like, but it doesn't really... It probably will have no need to run after a couple cycles versus a frigate, since it will kill the capacitor of an average frigate in like 2 or 3 cycles, which honestly can surprise a lot of players in combat.
Docking request accepted.
You can improve the performance of the neutralizer or even range with general units. Basically, all the modules can be tweaked with the general units. So let me see if I have some more ideas here. Now, let me see what I come up with. Overall, I have a lot of fun building the Incursus Navy. It allows me to go wild with the low slots. Not many frigates, I mean, like 4 other frigates have low slots. Have 4 low slots. All the other frigates don't really have that. They have 3 maximum. And with that extra 4 slots and with the buff on the power grid, it really made these ships quite interesting to play around with. Now, what am I doing here? Let me see. So I have a micro overdrive, and oh yeah, we can do something like this as well. This is also one kite build where you don't have a dual propulsion, but you have some extra tank attached to the ship. And with a similar build, you can also run the brawler in Incursus Navy with a scrambler, and with 3 blasters and a afterburner in the low slots. Which honestly, an afterburner will work really well in this case, since it is not going to have a big impact on your capacitor. It doesn't reduce your capacitor. It's very easy on the ship's capacitor. And since this is a close range build, using a web would be a good idea. And here I'll just use a afterburner to complete the build. And I like it. I like how it looks. I still have some power to spare, so if you plan to build something like this, you don't have to have dual ancillary power grid routers installed on the ship. One or none actually would work really well as well. I thought about a dual small armor repair build, but I didn't really like it. The medium armor repair, the oversized module, works really well on frigates. Even a oversized booster works really well on the Rifter because it has a bonus on them. So overall, the bonus in the end is really good when you include that. Especially if you add a general unit, you can actually kind of make the ship repair about 60% armor every cycle if you do use a slightly different build with general units that improve the armor repair. So you can easily do something wild like that, and it will still be very tanky. However, the problem might be slapping a capacitor battery on the ship or a Nosferatu. However, I noticed that a small Nosferatu with a medium armor repair or a medium ship booster that works really well. So that kind of builds close range active tank on these ships is going to be working really well. Now here I did kind of run into some problems. I wasn't really able to fit the ship the way I wanted because of power grid problems, but this would kind of be a PvE build. However, you can't use a scrambler, although I don't really think you need a scrambler. Triple webs should be good, or instead of the triple web setup, you can, if you have power grid for it, you can slap one small Nosferatu and remove the small battery and basically add another magnetic field stabilizer. Since in my case here I can't fit that, but if you have better skills and a different build, then you will be able to do that just fine. Even if I downgrade the magnetic field stabilizer, I still cannot fit the scrambler, which kind of sucks, but you know, I'll just have to live with it, as they say. But still, triple webs for PvE should be enough. Close range, afterburner build, speed tank works really well on all the frigates. They're fast, they're small, very small signature radius, and very good tank, makes them very fun to fly. So, I think it will be time to see how this cute little boat will perform in combat. Now, so far, I think I tested out all of them. We'll have to redo 3 because they have changed the low slot layout, so I have to redo most of the Navy frigates. But so far, I have to say they are very fun. They are very fun. Some say that they are quite expensive at the moment, but down the road the price on these ships will go down. Once they become more common, the price will go down. I think at the moment they're like 1 billion on the market. I haven't really checked the price in a while. But I mean, 1 billion isn't that bad. Faction frigates used to cost 1 billion, but their price now is like 200. In some rare instances, the faction frigates are 400 to 500 million. I think the Astor is like 700 million because of wormholes. I mean, it really depends. We had players manipulate the market because someone has leaked the wormhole release in the past. So of course someone will manipulate the market. That's just the sad reality that we have right now. That's why the Sister of Eve ships, that's why the Nestor went expensive, that's why all core top ships went up in price. And you know, when wormhole space, when the actual wormhole space is released, you know that will be quite the update, since the price for ships is going to be absolutely insane, especially for the sister Thief ships. You know, I actually sold my Nestor I think a week ago, for what was it, 11 billion, something like that. I sold it for 11 or for 14 billion. I got the ship for like 6 or 8, and I sold it for about 11 or 14, something like that. So I did make quite a profit. But I also sold my Stratus quite recently for 5 billion, which was a very good deal for the rigs that I had installed on the ship. It was a fair deal actually, and I also made very good disc out of that. So yeah, in that aspect, I think I did really well. Now, when I will fly a Stratus again, I have no idea. I don't really have much luck with that ship, so I decided not to fly it for quite a while. Although surprisingly, I actually found out that the Celos is really solid for wormholes, since that thing is really fast. And I feel like for the wormholes, stabs aren't really important, since stabs are not going to save you there. Auxiliary thrusters will save you, however, since speed is literally the speed and tank. Speed, tank, and stealth is the most important aspect of the current Cobalt Edge systems. The Cobalt Edge is fun. I love it. It's really exciting when you go there. It literally gives me the same feeling as when I entered the wormholes in Evil 9 for the first time. And it's awesome. It will be even better when the actual wormhole is released, which you know will happen. And I am excited about it. The Corp is excited about it. I hope they are, at least. I don't know. Haven't really talked about them that often about that, but I think they're excited as well about that. Everyone I know is quite excited for that as well. So yeah. Don't know what the bridge space will look like. I call it bridge space. It's basically the space between the main space and the Cobalt Edge space. The little region where I got yeeted in the Stratus. That's the bridge space that I like to call it. Basically in between the system. Is that going to exist for the actual wormhole space? Maybe, maybe not. Personally, I don't think that it will, but I might be wrong as well. Who knows? If it does exist, I'm fine with that. It's interesting. Surprisingly, I'm actually very happy with how they made the current wormhole system work, since it has that unique feel to it that I feel like the game lacked, and now it's there. Everyone can go and access it, and it's exciting. It's of course not perfect. There are some things that have to be changed, but it's fun. It definitely is fun, and maybe one of the best updates that we've had so far. Still have to think about that for the next couple days. But back to the Incursus Navy here. Now, so far the ship has been performing really well. I'm trying to on purpose. I have the afterburner off on purpose. I want to take some armor damage just to show you how much armor it can repair. Now this is with, I believe I have no general unit on the current implant, so this is basically the default armor repair, the default armor repair speed. You can make, if you go with integrations, but I don't think that anyone will go with integrations, but you can technically use cheap integrations on the Navy frigates, and you can have 2 rigs for DPS and 1 integration that will combine basically some resistance, but it can also improve the armor repair stats. And on top of that, you can also use the armor repair general units to to improve the armor repair amount, or even to conserve the power when it's active. So you really do have a lot of options when you're building any ship, not just this ship, but literally any ship in the game. But so far, it seems like my default speed is enough to literally speed tank. I mean, these ships are fast. That's no denying. They're speedy, they're fast, and speed tanking is working really well. Now, of course, there are some ships that you should not engage close range. One such example are serpentine ships, and in some cases, blood raiders. Although blood raiders have kind of lost they lost their shine, honestly. With all of these updates, stabs and stuff like that, blood raiders kind of really are harmless compared to some of the other ships. And since speed is life, if you get slowed down, you get killed. That's basically Serpentis ships in a nutshell. They web you and they kill you. So the Serpentis ships are a no up close, and you should avoid most of the Serpentis cruisers and battleships up close with frigates, since if they web you down, you are dead. The Daredevil can kind of be killed, since the Daredevil might not have a good tank and you can withstand some hits. So basically you kill the Daredevil before the Daredevil kills you, even if they are kiting. If you are a close range build and if the Daredevil catches you outside of your range, yeah, you're pretty much dead. But if you have a kite build, you can kill the Daredevil easily. Even if they're up close, you should have enough tracking to hit them. So that's one way how to deal with with that ship in particular. As for the destroyers, well, they should also be. Only the Talvar Assault might be kind of dangerous. That thing just slaps. The Talvar Assault is nasty. That's one of the destroyers that you should be very careful on. But most of the destroyer pilots don't really know how to fly their ship, so they will not be a big problem in the grand scale. Those who know how to fly their ship, yeah, they might be a problem. No, I haven't taken any armor damage. Well, I did, but that's nothing. So let me go and accept the next mission, since I want to show you how much armor can I repair with this little boat. Now, if you haven't noticed yet, I really like this ship. And I don't know, I feel like I definitely felt the boost in DPS on the Rifter before and post the balance patch. And they did say that September will bring a balance patch, multiple balance patches actually. And I'm very curious to see what they will do about that. Very interested to see if they add more slots to more ships. Very curious to see what will be buffed and what will be nerfed. Hoping that the bombarding plants will be nerfed. Now I have
autopilot engaged. Destination reached.
I have some ideas that I want to. Well, actually, I call them ideas. Not really ideas, but I have a lot of ISK right now, and I don't really know what to do with it. Right now, don't really feel like buying any new ship. Don't feel like buying any new module. However, if I can improve my existing ships, if I can improve their DPS, I will do that. So I have plans to buy a new implant, and I'm waiting to see what the balance patch will bring before I make the decision of what implant to buy. I don't want to buy something that's going to be nerfed right away, so I'll wait to see what's being changed, what they will change, and then I will go and probably buy a new implant and maybe improve some of my existing ships. I already improved my Macariel, I improved the Celos, mainly because I improved the barrage implant. Now I talked about this before, but hope that they do release a special edition Macariel that's literally very similar to the Celos, that has a battle mode. Can you imagine a Macariel with the battle mode? What that thing will do? If you go look at the Celos, with the battle modes plus the barrage implant, that thing shreds. That's a very nasty ship now. And on top of that, it's a DPS build. That thing slaps. can you imagine what the Macarial will do? That thing will just... That's going to be the scariest battleship in the game. So, hope that they do add something like that. I will definitely fly it. Would be hilarious actually to fly that thing. And I believe such a ship will be a worthy ship to actually replace my Macarial. Since my Macarial is a bit rusty, it's old. I had that ship literally for 3 years. One of the oldest Macarials in the game. Made on the very day they have been released. One of the first ones. So yeah, would be a very worthy ship to replace my Macarial, and it will have much more DPS. Will require skills, expo skills, but I think I have most of my expo skills already leveled up enough, so wouldn't be a big problem, to be honest. Kind of excited to see what they'll do about that, since I know that more special edition battleships are going to be added down the road. We received battleships, we received cruisers, we received frigates, maybe destroyers are next, maybe battle cruisers, but there will be more special ships, and I'm all in for that. New boats to play around with, that's a plus from me. Now, my armor is about 66-65%, and we are still... I'm still waiting to for my armor to drop a little bit lower. Maybe I'll do one armor repair cycle for the next wave here. Since I mean it holds really well. It's a very tanky frigate, and you will see that the armor repair will not waste too much capacity, but it will repair a lot of armor. There we go. I'll just run one cycle. And there we go, that's a fat armor repair, and that's not even the best armor repair you can do on this ship. You can even slap a C-type if you have really good skills, and you can technically make that one C-type repair about 800 armor every 3 seconds, something like that, which is insane. That's like repairing 50% every 3 seconds. That's very tanky on a very good tank. On this ship, that's amazing. That's like recovering 50% of armor on a Hyperion, comparable to that in terms of how much percentage it recovers, and that is pretty wild. Now, at one point I did kind of expect them to add extra large boosters, extra large modules for the battleships, but that didn't happen. Didn't happen yet, but might still happen at one point. We'll definitely use one extra large shield extender on my Macarial, which should give me a lot of shield. And if that were the case, my Macarial would return to be a shield tank, but as of now my Macarial is a armor tank, passive armor tank, and it will remain a passive armor tank for the foreseeable future, since it works really well. Have had some really good fights with the Macarial, and the armor seems somehow much more in PvP. For some reason, in my case at least, passive tank armor Macarial seem to take less damage than a passive tank shield Macarial. Why that the case? No idea, but just how it is. Just how it goes. And I'm not complaining about that. I'm actually quite happy that that's the case. Can even make it tankier if I use the thermal circulation, but then I lose the DPS. Now, since the Macarial kind of I combined the barrage implant works really well with the current build that I have, so that's also one of the reasons why I don't really tamper with my Macarial that much, at least now. But no, the Galante frigate, yeah, with the thermal circulation implant, it will dominate. It's gonna be a very interesting to fly ship. Now, if I had to like put a list from best to worst, although there is no best, there is no worst Navy frigates. They all have different advantages and disadvantages. There are different ships for us to fly and build. So in the end, pilot and pilot skill matters the most. Ship and build comes second, and ship comes third. You can have an extremely good ship, but if the pilot doesn't know how to fly it, it will die just easily as any other ship. So pilot skill is still the most important aspect when you are out doing PvP or stuff like that. And so far, these ships do offer some really good performance. They're extremely unique. Now, someone actually asked if they didn't sell them enough. They were actually selling really well even before the patch. I bought the Rifter and I bought the Tristan from the market, and then the other ships I borrowed from my friends to test out. So they were definitely selling really well, and they are selling well now. So that definitely wasn't the case. The reason why they were buffed is to make them more unique, and honestly, they kind of, when I did jump in the Rifter for the very first time, it felt okay, but it felt like it was lacking something. It felt like a navy, but it still was lacking something, and giving the ship a 4th low slot was definitely, I believe, the thing that was lacking, although there are other things that they could have done. There's also a lot of other things that they might do down the road, since I believe that this is definitely not the last time that they have changed these ships. They will probably do something more with them down the road, so we will find that out on time, I guess. If I do hear something about it, I'll definitely let you guys know, as always, since basically that's my job here, to inform you guys and give you good builds, and to give some good fights in PvP. That's what I like to do in this game, and honestly, it's very fun to do. Very fun to do. So, my thoughts on the Incursus Navy. This is the second Galante Navy frigate, and in this case, this is a railgun. Basically has bonus on railguns and on active armor repair. It is different from the Tristan, which is a kite and uses drones, but I believe both ships are good in their own way. Again, it depends on the player to make use of the ship. This ship is very comparable to the Rifter, since both have very similar stats, very similar bonuses. One is shield tank, other is armor tank. So I would say it is a Galante Rifter, if that makes any sense. It is a Galante Rifter, since it has basically very similar stats to it. And it has very good DPS output, very good speed, very tanky. And one unique aspect would be that it can have more resistance than the Rifter on the shield, since there is no
Autopilot engaged.
thermocirculation for the shields. If you understand what I'm talking about.
Warp drive
Thermocirculation
active.
plant makes armor tanks fantastic. And well, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this little run with the Incursus Navy. Very fun to fly a ship, a very cute ship. Honestly, I really like the design of this Galante frigate. So if you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.